What's the difference between a $30, $70 and $260 pair of running shorts? I've spent the last 3 months testing and comparing them against each other to find out if an average runner like myself actually gets any more value from really expensive running shorts compared to really cheap running shorts. These feel real cheap. This phone pocket sucks. I don't like the feeling of freeballing when running. I have put them through various types of terrain and conditions, including bringing them along on a trail running road trip with no access to a washing machine, since one of these shorts even claims to be odor-free, which we will get back to in just a second, as I'm comparing the shorts across 3 different categories in this video: fit and feel, functionality and fashion. But first, let me introduce you to our contestants. I've chosen 3 pairs of so-called 2-in-1 running shorts, as this type of short often packs the most punch in terms of technical details, and I just love the layered aesthetic and how it makes you look like you're about to go for a run on a Arrakis. The first and cheapest short up is H&M's double layered sports shorts with dry move. The outer short is 100% polyester, while the liner is made from 79% polyester and 21% elastane for that lovely stretch. It features a nice deep foam pocket on the liner, as well as standard side pockets on the outer short, concealed drawstring, nice, and elastic waistband. On a surface level, I think they nailed the brief here when it comes to designing a 2-in-1 short. The proportions seem just right, minimal branding, decent color options, cool little slutty slits on the sides. What more can a dude who wants to show off the quads with some decency ask for? Now, I don't have much experience with H&M's sports clothing. I mostly know the brand for cheap t-shirts that gets way out of whack after a couple of washes, so I'm especially curious about how these are going to hold up in the long run. From dry move to dry fit, we're moving on to the brand that needs no introduction. Nike Unlimited is a pair of 7-inch 2-in-1 versatile shorts. Not the cheapest, not the most expensive, but the longest short of this test. So you are getting a bit more short for your buck here. The 7 inches refer to the outer short, while the liner is noticeably longer, about 5 inches as far as I can tell. To me, the 7 inches is a curious choice of length when it comes to running. However, I went with this model because it's one of the only pairs in Nike's lineup with that layered look, where the liner is poking out underneath the outer short. And I was reassured that the Unlimiteds were the right choice when I read this great review.
The liners are dangling out beyond the shorts by like 3 to 4 inches. It looks ridiculous. If you ran cross country in the 2000s, you look like a high schooler wearing 3-inch shorts with 9-inch tights underneath. This was not a good look. Otherwise, I appreciate the overall utility of the shorts, pockets, phone holder in the liner, and their comfort.
One man's trash is another man's treasure, I hope. As mentioned in the review, these also feature a foam pocket on the liner. However, it is a bit of a weird one, and it might be the thing that I'm most offended by with these, but we will get back to that. They also have classic side pockets and a zippered back pocket. A cool detail is that the draw cord is convertible, making it up to you if you want the nut on the inside or the outside. Contrary to the H&M shorts, both the liner and outer short consist of a mix of polyester and elastane, so both parts are stretchy. Also minimal branding here with just an embroidered logo, which I always prefer over print. They come in hella colorways, including mine and Bruce Wayne's absolute favorite. Not just black, not double black, not even triple black, but quadruple black, ladies and gents. Who the fuck said monochrome? Last but not cheap, we have the Techsilks 8-inch shorts from Satisfy, the brand that has the audacity to charge you 260 quid for a pair of shorts. Used to be the if you know niche running brand, but these days they have outgrown that underground status and has become a household name in the industry. I think one of the ways they have built this success is through the assembly of their roster of athletes. Satisfy have signed some serious stallions with dank ass tattoos and mustaches to match the brand's rock and roll aesthetic. These shorts are probably one of the most mellow products in terms of look, but they are still packed with features according to the product page. The 8 inches refer to the liner, which consists of 2 different types of stretchy fabric. I believe the top part is Satisfy's own Justice fabric, a nylon and elastane blend that's supposed to dry real quick, making it hard for bacteria to mix with your sweat while staying odor-free. The bottom is so-called cold black, which is quote-unquote engineered to reduce heat buildup, Cold black is also a blend of nylon and elastane, so no polyester in these shorts and no actual silk either. The 5-inch outer short is where the Techsilk enters the chat. Techsilk is another nylon and elastane combination. There are no side pockets. Instead, you get a pretty unique sweatproof foam pocket on the back of your hip and a separate zippered sweatproof back pocket. The double waistband allows you to tuck the drawcord in order to avoid chafing and holds a carabiner on which you can clip stuff like your key or jewelry. The reflective print on the back of each leg adds a bit of flair to an otherwise pretty stealthy pair of running shorts, while people in the know will be able to spot the remnants of the detachable care label from miles away. The composition of the fabrics and the attributes which satisfy claim that they hold is definitely where these shorts stand out from the rest in this test, but is it all words, or is it actually something I can feel on my mediocre 10K on a Sunday morning? It's time to find out. Moving on to our first point of comparison in this test, the fit and feel of each of these shorts. This is where I have to warn you, things might get a bit PG as we are dealing with the groin area after all. Starting off with the H&M pair. The outer shorts feel quite thin and flimsy, and you can kind of see it on the product photos as well. They're almost see-through in the right lighting conditions. This isn't necessarily a bad thing as they are super lightweight in return, which is nice when we're talking about running. Being light and flowy also mean that it doesn't really matter that the outer short isn't stretchy, as they don't feel restrictive when running at all. My biggest concern about the outer short is how well the fabric will hold up over time when it comes to wear and tear, but for $30 I think you can live with that. In fact, I think it's to be expected at this price point. Now the big issue with these is the fit of the liner. The fabric itself feels alright. That's not where they let you down, or leave you hanging I should say, it's the construction. Sorry if this is a bit TMI, but I do prefer to run commando in 2-in-1s. I kind of think that's the whole point of this style of shorts, but the liner is built in a way where it doesn't really hug your groin. Instead, it sits awkwardly low, unable to keep anything in place. At first I found that so puzzling that I ordered 2 additional pairs, one pair in the same size and one pair in a smaller size, just to make sure that it wasn't a production flaw or just me wearing the wrong size, but the problem remained. It might just be a question of personal preference, but I don't enjoy the feeling of freeballing when running. If that's your jam, you'll probably really enjoy these and the Breeze. And if that's not your thing, there is a workaround to this issue, but it comes with a price, which we will get back to. Up next is the Unlimiteds. If you know Dri-Fit, you already know how they feel: soft, stretchy and airy, but still substantial. These feel the thickest of the bunch, both the outer short and the liner, and they are the heaviest as well, but not as heavy as they might look, and I'm surprised about how easy it is to run in them. When I read that they are made for multiple purposes, I was a bit worried they would be a jack of all trades, master of none type thing, but after testing them out, I would definitely say they qualify as a pair of running shorts. They are obviously running hotter than the other shorts, but I do think Dri-Fit does a decent job at wicking the sweat away, and it does it better than H&M's Dry Move tech, which isn't that surprising as the weave of Dri-Fit does look more intricate. Speaking of intricate, let's move on to Satisfy's Techsilks. These feel real cheap. That was my first thought when I pulled these out of the bag. They are so light, I was worried they were going to fall apart in my hands. But that was only until I started inspecting them. Satisfy has done everything in their power to keep the weight of these down while still delivering what seemed to be a solid product. From a choice of fabric to the bonded seams, even the bottom hem of the liner is left raw to save on material and weight while adding to the rock and roll aesthetic. I do wonder how that's going to hold up, but I must admit that once you put these on, the fit feels very premium. The buttery smooth liner sits just like you want it to, and it does indeed handle moisture and heat very well. Even though the Techsilk outer short fits quite tight, the construction of them is pretty bang on. Not restrictive at all, easy to move in, stretches in the right direction. My biggest problem with these is the lack of basic side pockets, so let's talk about that as we're moving on to the next chapter of this test: function. Do these shorts deliver on the functional promises? Side pockets and a so-called open leg pocket, that's all the promises H&M is making when it comes to the functional details in their double-layered sports shorts. The side pockets are pretty good. They're deep enough that you're not worried about your stuff falling out the second you're sitting down. The open leg pocket or phone pocket is really good. In fact, I think it's the best phone pocket among all 3 shorts. It's tight so the phone doesn't wiggle around, it's deep so you don't worry about the phone escaping, and it sits in a pretty good spot on the thigh. If it had been just a bit higher, I think I would have called it the perfect phone pocket. Perfect is far from the word I would use to describe the phone pocket on the Nike Unlimiteds. In fact, this phone pocket sucks. First of all, the positioning is way off. It's so far down the leg that it moves in full motion with each of your strides. That's an issue because secondly, it's quite shallow, so it might not even really fit your phone if it's on the larger side. And in addition to that, it's not that tight either, so you really feel it moving around. It's okay for jogging, but I wouldn't put my faith in it for strides, bounding or sprinting. Frankly, I'm a bit surprised about this blunder from Nike, as I know they can make great phone pockets like the one on these Pro sides. Besides the shitty phone pocket, everything else on these shorts hold up nicely. The side pockets does the job, the zippered back pocket has plenty of room and you could put your phone in that, but it will bounce around. Instead, it's great for your car key, credit card or even a lighter wallet, anything you want to keep safe really. The convertible drawer cord is a nice touch, but I wish it was flat instead of round, as the nut gets pretty big, which is noticeable if you choose to have it on the inside. And finally, I do think they deliver on the multi-purpose promise. These shorts are not only great for running, they transition nicely into the gym as well. Moving on to the Techsilks. Am I actually satisfied when it comes to the functionality of these? Yes, but also a bit frustrated. As I mentioned previously, my biggest beef with these is the lack of basic side pockets. Not because you need them when you're running, but because you need them when you're transitioning into and out of your runs. It's really inconvenient not having pockets to just drop your phone in real quick. The built-in phone pocket is almost too good. It's such a perfect fit that you need both hands to guide the phone in. And since it sits just above your right ass cheek, you can't really see what you're doing, which means you end up with half your butt out at the bakery trying to get the phone back into the pocket after paying for your post-run pastry. But for running, the phone pocket is great. Having it right on the center of center of mass, eliminates any weight gain on your movement, and you actually just forget about it once you get going. It being sweat-proof is a really nice touch as well. The double waistband is really cool, and I love how you're able to tuck the drawer cord in there so it doesn't sit on your skin while being concealed. The carabiner is a nice touch, but I think it works best for rings or smaller keys. My house key feels too big to sit comfortably in the waistband, so I use the back pocket for that. I'm not sure how much of an increase in visibility you're actually getting from the reflective print on the back. It's mostly visible from a low angle, which doesn't help you much in traffic, but when it's visible it looks real cool, which is the most important part after all. So let's talk about that. Which of these shorts have the most steez? H&M has done a really good job of crafting the archetype of a basic 2-in-1 short. The proportions are just right and they've kept the branding and design language so neutral that they are easy to pair with pretty much anything. At least that's what I thought when I saw the product photos. In reality, and after a couple of trips to the washing machine, I think they look a bit more messy, as if they're missing some structure. They kinda end up looking more like a skirt than a short sometimes. Not a deal breaker when considering the price point, but it's definitely a noticeable difference when comparing to the 2 other shorts. Besides using a more dense fabric, one of the ways Nike has added structure to the Unlimiteds is by stitching up a faux fly. It might not seem like much, maybe even a bit silly, but I do think it adds some visual interest and breaks up this rather large surface of solid black. I've grown pretty fond of this unusual length for a pair of running shorts, and I like how exaggerated the length of the liner is, making it quite obvious that it's poking out by choice. They are definitely harder to style than a lot of other shorts due to their length, and I think they work best with long sleeve tees, multiple layers on top, or jackets. The pair with the most tees has to be Satisfy. There's only so much you can do when it comes to black on black, and I think that adding that reflective print on the back was a pretty good move for standing out among the competition. It's not something I can recall having seen before, neither is the raw hem on the bottom of the liner, which adds a nice contrast to the silky slick shell shorts. Try saying that 3 times fast. The shell does fit a bit tight, at least on my thighs, which is probably my biggest gripe with this pair in terms of look, as I do prefer my shorts a bit more flowy. So, what's the verdict after having run about 3 months and at least 100 kilometers in each of these shorts? How do they stack up against each other when comparing the notes? If you phrase it like that, the Techsilks are simply the best product. But what if you take price into the consideration as well? Where then do you get the most bang for your buck? At surface level, the H&M shorts seem like a crazy deal, maybe even too good to be true. It's hard to wrap your head around how they are able to peddle this for only $30, especially considering how it's almost two products in one, a liner and outer short. They've got most of the features you want, including a kick-ass phone pocket, and they look pretty good, but it is fast fashion and not the kind of fast that we as runners like, but fast as in rushed. If only they had taken their time and tested the fit of these, they would have scored pretty high on my scale. But as you might have guessed, the H&Ms are the pair that I've used the least, and I've run way less than 100 kilometers in them. I always end up reaching for another pair simply because the fit is so god awful. I did, however, also mention that there is a workaround to make them a bit more comfortable. They are tight enough around your thighs that you can simply pull them up to where your underwear would normally sit, but then you are sacrificing the phone pocket, as any added weight will start to pull them back down with every stride. All in all, I think the H&Ms is a great option if you're on vacation and forgot your running shorts. Then they are a cheap and easy fix for the week that you could probably find in any bigger city almost anywhere in the world. But beyond that, I wouldn't recommend them to anyone except for my long crotched gentlemen out there. So I do think the low price matches the value. Coming in at a little more than double the price of the H&Ms is the Unlimiteds. Here you get what feels like better materials and more of it, more pockets, more versatility, and a way better fit, so I would say they're definitely worth the additional cost in comparison to the H&Ms. The fact that these are great in the gym is a big plus in my book, as I recently learned the hard way how important strength training is when it comes to preventing injuries as a runner, and their additional length makes these relevant through more seasons of the year. Their biggest drawdown is by far the shitty phone pocket, and it's one of the main reasons I'm pretty confident you could probably find another pair in or just below this price range that's just as nice. After all, you're also paying for the brand here, as marketing this good isn't cheap. Moving up the scale at almost 4 times the price of the Nikes and 9 times the price of the H&Ms, we find Satisfy. Are they actually worth more than the other pairs? Definitely. Are they worth their astronomical price? Definitely not. Unless you are a very specific kind of runner. Let me explain. Yes, the aesthetic of the shorts is awesome. Yes, the functional details like the sweatproof foam pocket and double waistband are nice. The carabiner is cool, but I think you can find a lot of shorts below this price point that tick some of those boxes as well. Even the Unlimiteds have a loop for key rings and carabiners. I think what's really driving the value of these shorts is the choice of materials and construction. Everything is engineered to be lightweight and silky smooth. It's something you have to feel on your own skin to really believe, but trust me when I say they feel noticeably nicer than the 2 other shorts. And that edge only gets more pronounced the longer you run in them. Up until the 2-hour mark, I'd say the Unlimited does a pretty good job at keeping up in terms of comfort, but beyond that point you really start to appreciate how light the Techsilks are, how smooth they feel on your skin, and all the effort that's been put in towards reducing chafing. Therefore, I also imagine that these are much superior when it comes to ultra long distances, and I do know that there are other brands out there that specializes in gear for those type of races as well, but then you are probably compromising on look. So if you are a runner who does long distance and care deeply about a certain aesthetic, maybe these shorts are worth the price to you. Maybe you really care about the environmental impact and ethical aspects of the products you use. Then these are probably a great choice. Maybe you're really intrigued by the odor reducing component, which is noticeable and a really nice feature when you're road tripping without access to a washing machine. Maybe you're just a sucker for the branding like myself and hope that the power of placebo will give you a little bit of that stallion strength. At the end of the day, these shorts are going to be worth more to some folks than others. They are certainly backed by great marketing, where the absurd price point itself acts as an attention magnet that creates a lot of fuss and buzz and baits wannabe YouTubers into making videos about them. And you can't be mad at that. What I am mad about is still the lack of basic side pockets, but my biggest complaint, and this is going to sound insane, but hear me out. My biggest complaint is that I wish that these were even more expensive. I wish I had paid another $30, making it $290, because that would mean that I had gotten the more durable version with Cordura, which is some of my favorite tech in functional clothing. However, when I ordered these shorts, you couldn't get the Cordura version in black, but you can now, so maybe check those out if you're considering picking these up. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out. Please ask away if you have any questions about any of these shorts, and stay posted for more videos like this and my 1000 kilometers review of these shorts.